what's on my mind?
It's your brother, your cousin, your uncle,
Can we
your
get a
nephew,
couple
your
of
friend,
nights
I
off my
can't be your
chest?
son, your kinfolk, William Jewell, giving you my detail as I articulate. This is articulating rap, rap, rap. How y'all doing? How y'all doing? If you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below and turn all the notifications on so you can get all the new content and all the new videos when I post them. I just came here to articulate, give y'all the telescopic and microscopic view of hip hop from a far away and close up lens. Right, so I hope I'm doing that. I hope I'm giving y'all my detail, and the more I do this, the better I get, the better I get with my craft. Because I really feel like some things do need a breakdown. And sometimes I try to make everything I talk about within 30 minutes. And so sometimes those things might need a little bit more careful breakdown. So if I can give y'all more videos, I'll give y'all more videos. But life is life, and right now, life is busy. Sometimes I don't have the bandwidth. I don't have the mental storage to put other things in there. But this is my getaway from that reality. This is my getaway into hip hop. You know what I'm saying? And some people can say that it's a fantasy world, but for others, it's real life. The things that they rapped about was real life. The things that they rapped about has them in the federal penitentiaries, right? And if you don't know who I'm talking about Lil Durk. I'm talking about Durk Devontae Banks, right? Uh, man, this is gonna be a tough one because I love Durk. You know, I loved everything about, you know, his his pain and his music. Just the feel, just the texture of which he used the melodic auto tune, and just how he said and did what he did. I don't think I loved him because he was a drill rapper. I feel like the drill part of Durk was probably the least favorite part of him that I liked. But, I got on Durk because he reminded me of Roddy Ricch. And when Roddy Ricch dropped the box and I was going through his back catalog, he didn't have that much music. So a friend of mine was like, man, go listen to Durk. So this is how late I was on to Durk. This was probably like 2019. This is how late I was on to Durk. And I was like, okay, let me go to Durk. And then at first I didn't like Durk, but the second listen, that's when I was like, whoa, whoa, I saw something, I heard something there. So I instantly became a Durk fan, and even a bigger fan of Durk than I was of Roddy Ricch. So I feel like it's imperative that I tell that story, because when we talk about the melodic song bag, we talk about Roddy, we talk about Durk, we talk about Gunna, right? And there are a few others, the NBA young boys of the world. I don't put Young Thug, I don't put Future in that category because they're like the forefathers of that lane. But when it comes to people that are, I guess you could say, descendants of them, then I talk about those guys as far as Durk, Gunna, Roddy, and Young Boy. So deep thoughts, and actually this album was supposed to come out in November 22nd. This album was supposed to come out. See, I don't even have to have my notes down to know about this album because I was anticipating this album. Because I didn't really love Almost Healed. It had All My Life, it had Pellycoat. But other than that, there is no memorable songs that I could kind of give you. 7220 was probably my favorite Durk album. Or Just Cause Y'all Waited Too. It's kind of between those two. But Almost Healed, to me, it was kind of Durk doing the same thing. Not too much evolution, not too much progress in his music. And I feel like with this deep thoughts, I could see that he was trying to turn the corner a little bit. I feel like his lyricism was getting better. The way he was just putting, you know what I'm saying, his lyrics together and structure, it seemed like it was more on point with his hooks. It was more on point with what he was saying. He wasn't crying a lot on his auto tune. I feel like he was perfecting his craft and he was getting close to perfecting his craft, up until this arrest. But I feel like this album is still missing a little bit of soul. This album is still missing a little bit of pain. And I don't think he could talk like he wanted to talk. But when when I hear "Think You Glowed Up," when I hear "Deep Depression," Alhamdulillah, you know, when I hear songs like that, "Soul Bleed," when I hear songs like that, "Keep on Sipping," like he got some pain in there, right? He got some good music in there, but he got some singles that he dropped, in the past. He put those singles on there. So it sounded like I kind of heard almost half of this album already when I first listened to it. But other than those songs, because it was like 3 or 4 songs on this album, right? It wasn't a whole bunch of songs like he usually do. I think it was about 15. Let me check. But Deep Thoughts. I mean, when you hear Durk, you know the production is gonna be there. It's going to have that rock and roll guitar vibe, right? It 17 tracks, right? So he's gonna have that rock and roll guitar vibe. He's gonna have it's gonna be mixed with a little bit of trap, but it's not going to be fully trapped out. So Durk, he has a good production. He has a great style that fits with his skill set, and his production is usually top tier. So when it comes to that guitar, when it comes to when it when it comes to the connection or just the chemistry of which his production and his voice go together, I think that's a plus on this album. When it comes to the song making, I feel like the song making is getting better. The hooks are getting better. Like when I hear this album, I feel like it's some good hooks on this album, right? Not a whole bunch of features, but the features was right. The features was needed as they were placed on this album. So I feel like the structure and the curation of this album is pretty good. I just feel like it's missing something, as I said before. I don't know if it's the pain. I don't know if it's the spirit. I don't know if it's the soul. I don't know if he couldn't talk like he wanted to talk on this album. I don't know what it's missing, but it's missing something, and I can't put my finger on it. I can't tell you exactly what it is when I think about Durky O, Smirky O. I feel the absence. And maybe he's behind bars, but that's not what I felt when I heard Tory Lanez. You know what I'm saying? Maybe he's behind bars, but I don't think it's because of that. And I think it's kind of the same thing when we talk about Wham, right? We talk about Wham and we talk about Lil Baby shooting a video and 2 kids getting killed around that video shoot, and you dealing with the pressures of life. You dealing with the pressures of the laws, the feds. You dealing with the pressures of of grieving. You're dealing with the pressure of casualties in your own camp. You're dealing with the pressure of the gang violence. You're dealing with the pressure of being a sole provider. You're dealing with the pressures of the music industry. You're dealing with the pressures of trying to be a stand-up guy, trying to keep it street, trying to keep it hood when keeping it real goes wrong. And I think keeping it real went a little bit wrong on this album because it's something missing. and he kept it real for so long, but the realness wasn't able to keep going. And that's kind of what I think was left off this album. Although he was talking slick, although he was talking his talk, although he's the voice of the streets, I think that voice was a little bit raspy. I think that voice was a little bit hoarse. I think the cat got his tongue. So, I mean, all in all, this is probably my least favorite project of Durk's, besides some of the compilation music. But this is probably my least favorite album of Durk's. I can say that right now. It's in a good tie with Almost Healed. It's not a terrible album. It's not a bad album. It's good music. But what I want and what I expect from Durk, it was not delivered. And since 7220, I believe his music is starting to become monotonous. And I hate to say it because that's what I come to Durk for. But he's in that purgatory of trying to be a little bit mainstream, but still trying to please his solid fan base. And to be honest, I don't even think this album even had any real drill. He wasn't really just rapping. Well, no. I think Opportunist. It had a little bit, but not as much as I'm used to hearing. So I think he's just in that purgatory right now. He's in that limbo, you know what I'm saying, between life and death, right? Trying to see if he can live or trying to see if he should let the Lord take the wheel. So we move on to the next album. I feel like I was very long-winded on that, and that's because the courtesy I gave to Durk as a big fan of his. We go to Will Smith, based on the true story. Now, I'll be honest with you. I haven't really listened to this album in detail. So before I really, you know what I'm saying, make a statement on this album, I just want to let that be known. This is still like earlier than I usually record. So usually when I record in a day, I've had time to digest all the music that I need to digest. But this Will Smith, I think it's a comeback for him. I don't think he had any pressure. He didn't have any stress of making this album. He said he took the advice from Jay-Z, and Jay-Z told him don't fake his story. I think he said he took the advice for Kendrick Lamar, and Kendrick Lamar said, man, just tell him all that. Tell him all that shit you didn't want to say. All that shit. Talk all that shit you was scared to say before. Say everything you was scared to say. Like, I'm trying to quote it right. That's why I keep repeating it. But I think Will Smith is a architect, and he is a guy that, laid the blueprint for mainstream rappers when it comes to hip hop. One of the first artists in hip hop to win a Grammy. The first hip hop artist to win a Grammy. And Summertime, parents just don't understand, like Big Willie style, Millennium. Here we go, another year to everyone, new millennium. Like Bad Boys, like Backstreet's coming. Let me see you just nod your head. Like, come on, man, Will Smith. Like somebody that we grew up seeing him on the big screen TV, somebody that we idolized because he had a woman like Jada Pinkett, someone that we turned our back on because of the scandals and because of the entanglement, and we looked at him differently because of the slap. Some people did not agree with that. Some people wanted to, look at him with dismay and look at him with disdain. But I don't believe that was the right approach. I believe we should look at Will Smith as a man. And he's cursing a little bit on this album, something he vowed never to do beforehand. He's cursing a little bit. So, like Will Smith, when I hear Will Smith, I hear a man that's evolved. I hear a man that's comfortable in his skin. I hear a man that has let go all the pressures and stresses of life. I hear a man that no longer feels like he has to please the people, but pleasing himself comes first, and not in the sense of masturbation, right? But in the sense of doing right for him and what's going to put his soul and put his spirit in the best place. Because music is like therapy, and I believed this music is like therapy. And just hearing this album, I think he found God again. I think he found God again. I don't think it's too Christian, right? I was hearing a Joe Budden podcast and they said it sounded very Christian, but I guess we forgot that Will Smith was into the Scientology. I forgot that we forgot. I think we forgot that Will Smith was into some different type of things. But to know and to hear that a man found God, I think we should rejoice in that. And when I think about this album, it gives me Kanye, Jesus is Lord. It gives me uh it gives me that Kanye vibe, to be honest. But like Will Smith, and with the rapping, when he speeds up, I can hear the Joyner Lucas. I can hear the Big Sean, right? So I can hear that other people are writing the lyrics because of how he's rapping faster, and how everything sounds. It sounds very clear. It sounds very crisp. The lyricism is there, right? And he's talking like he needs to talk, right? He's saying what he needs to say to get his point across. So I feel like this is a good album. This is a good album. It's not in one of my best albums of the year, but I feel like in Will Smith's absence, the production is great. It gives you a little bit of everything. It explores different genres of hip hop, different genres of music. It navigates, through those territories, somewhat of pop, somewhat mainstream, somewhat gospel, somewhat, rave in the wasteland, EDM, I feel like, or up tempo. And I saw that Rave in the Wasteland is his company, which is dropping this music off. So, I mean, that could be another potential business venture for Will Smith as well. And I didn't rate the Durk album, so I'm gonna rate the Durk album first before I rate this Will Smith album, right? And I will rate the Durk album probably 6.5. I will rate this Will Smith album probably a 7, and it could be a 7.5, but right now 7, I feel like it's good for him, but it's not. It's 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 great for him, but it's not great for everybody. It's good for him, but it's not gonna be great to everybody. I still got Life is Beautiful. I still got Peterson as number one. I still got Life is Beautiful at number two. Um, and then I guess we gotta put Wham at 3. I'll put Dirk at 4, and then I guess this Will Smith we can put at 5. And I'm not even going to include the Currencies and the Slim Thugs. I'm just going to include like the bigger mainstream well-known artists. Oh, and let me not forget about Playboy Cardi, because I'll put Playboy Cardi at 3 behind Peterson and Life is Beautiful. So those are my top 3 albums so far from this year. Peterson, Life is Beautiful, and I Am Music. Or just now, it's the album cover says I Am Music, but they're calling it Music. That's the title of the album. We go to Wham 5. We go to Durk 6, and then I'll put Will Smith at 7. No, I say Wham 4, Durk 5, Will Smith at 6. So that's my order right now. Um, And I see that Kendrick Lamar might be doing a video for Luther. There's been pictures of him going around, and Luther again is the number one song of the week on the Hot 100 of Billboard. Nokia. It was supposed to drop Friday. Now it's supposed to drop on Monday. There's rumors being circulated. There's theories being taught or told that Kendrick is planning to step on Drake's release, and similar with Jay-Z and Nas. So I'm not mad at that strategy because that strategy is the strategy of the GOATs. And not saying Kendrick, basically, Kendrick can't get Drake out of there, right? He can't destroy Drake, but he can limit him. He can, throw some kryptonite at his way. And so I believe that this is definitely what he's going to do. I believe this is definitely going to be an ongoing thing. And, if this continues on, I could see them actually patching up, whatever was destroyed or whatever was torn apart between them two. Because, after a while, when you compete with somebody, as far as in a boxing ring or on a football field, even though you don't like your competitor, the way they compete with you, you have to respect them, especially if they give you a good, run for your money, especially even if they defeat you. Like, it's just something about the competitive spirit, like when it boils down to the head and the game is truly over, right? You shake hands and you tell one another good game. So the fact that we saw that with Jay-Z and Nas, and even thinking about what Jay-Z said about Nas, baby moms, right? And eventually them coming together and putting all their differences aside and making amends and showing hip hop. I don't think this is Gucci Mane and Jeezy where somebody died. As long as somebody haven't died, like, this is forgivable. So just throughout this beef, I can see that if Kendrick is going to continue to step on Drake and continue to compete with Drake at every turn he takes, same way Drake tried to step on his Super Bowl performance with going to Australia and then dropping the SSS for You album right after that, I could see why Kendrick is doing this as well, because Nokia is catching steam, and I feel like Nokia reminds me of Squabble Up. And then when we talk about first person shooter, is it Britney? Is it Ashley? Is it Aideen? Like, damn, how many songs you gonna come out with naming a woman's name? To me, that's just corny. To me, like, it makes no sense. Like, why people love this song so much. Maybe I'm a hater. But, like, damn, DMX did it. Keisha, Phoenicia, Juan. Like, you steady. How many songs is there going to be out about naming multiple women's names and it's going to be a good song? Like, Drake is so formulaic. Like, this blueprint of what he's doing, it's already been done. So, I mean, like I said before, Drake should know what a hit sounds like. And if he knows what a hit sounds like, it shouldn't be hard for him to do it. But it is what it is. I'm not going to continue to harp on it. But I'm definitely interested to see what this Luther video is going to be looking like, because we know how creative Kendrick is. And SZA, she got her acting chops up, and Kendrick is supposed to be having his acting chops up with this new movie that's coming out in July. So Whitney Springs. So I'm just interested to see, like, what type of video they're gonna do. Or they're gonna do a short film like video, do the 30 for 30 with the Luther. Like, we don't know. So it's interested to see, because if you go back to Pimp a Butterfly, Kendrick has this video on YouTube. It's something about God, but it's multiple songs within that video, and that video is like 9 minutes long. So I could see Kendrick doing a mashup of his songs into one video and just giving people everything that he wants to give them from Gen X and being done with it. So that's what I think about that. And then I guess we will talk about Stephen A. and LeBron James. Cause that's a hot topic right now. And I mean it just goes back to like, you know, you hate to see the brothers, you know what I'm saying? You hate to see the brothers going at it publicly, feuding, and you know, having that public beef, two of the biggest in their own respective lanes. I feel like Stephen A is a GOAT and LeBron is arguably a GOAT too when it comes to basketball. And I don't really like to see it um just because it just it's just not a good look for the culture. Right? It's good for views, it's good for content, it's good for headlines and narratives. It's good for all that, but it's just not good for the culture. And although Stephen A questions LeBron's fatherhood and LeBron says it's not about the game, he's questioning me personally. But when we think about it, LeBron is a father and his son is playing with him for the LA Lakers. So if your son is playing with you and you are the father and this is within the basketball court, then how is this a personal attack on your fatherhood? Because we see what's happening because he's your son. We see the talk, we hear it because he's your son. So why can we not point out to your fatherhood when we know your fatherhood is the reason he's in this position? How is that a personal attack when that's actually the facts? And LeBron is being petty. You know, the Pat McAfee show, and I love Pat McAfee as a punter for the Colts, which are my team. And I did not have a problem with him going to a white man's platform like others do. Because I feel like when people of our culture talk to people outside of our culture, we get a different conversation from them and a conversation that we need to have from them. So we get a little bit more substance, we get a little bit more dialogue than the hot topics people give us in the hip hop community. So I'm never mad, you know, when somebody goes on to a platform like that. And it was a black man that was asking him questions on the Pat McAfee show. So it doesn't take away from the culture. And I think LeBron did it very calculated. I mean, everything he's doing is calculated. Um, but I just don't think I think LeBron is beloved, right? I think no matter what he does, LeBron is going to be loved by the public just because he's such a great philanthropist. He's a great player off the court. He's a great father, great husband, all those things. Stephen A has been on the fence with the black and the white culture. He's, you know, been called a coon. He's been known to race bait. Like, he's been known to just run his mouth about certain things. And I've always given Stephen A credit. I've always said that I love Stephen A. I emulate what I do on here off Stephen A. Right? Sometimes I'm talking, sometimes I get animated because of what he's shown me to work. But when I see Stephen A, he has a job talking for a living. And he's also said this because he's made mistakes when it came to Aisha Carey, when it came to Ray Rice situation, when it came to Shotani. Like, he's made mistakes because he talks too much. So LeBron James, he's not going to be talking all the time. And LeBron James has been in the public eye. He's talked enough to where we caught him in his capping. Right? So Stephen A's talking way more than LeBron. And since you're talking way more, you're more vulnerable, you're more exposed. What you say is more exposed. And we'll be able to find the flaws in what you say. right? So you got to be careful about what you say. And I think Stephen A is, but since he's talking for a living, he's going to talk his way into something that is not necessary, right? And I think LeBron is beloved. People love Bron. I love Bron because of the man Bron is. Uh, and so regardless of what LeBron say, it's gonna be validated from the public, you know, especially when because people are validating him because they're saying, okay, you talked about his son, so he should be able to say it. You didn't talk about the skill set or the play on the court, but like I see it as you're talking about his son because he is on the court because of his dad. So how can you not? How can you escape commenting on the fatherhood, right? Especially as a journalist who's going to have hot takes, who's going to look at things from a different viewpoint, right? A detailed, articulate viewpoint than others. So, man, that's kind of what I got to say for y'all today. If I missed something, let me know. The YG song, I didn't really hear it in full. So I think there might be another topic to discuss as, more dialogue comes out about this song if it really has some staying power to really discuss. But that's all I got for y'all. That's my 2 cents. It's your brother, your cousin, your uncle, your nephew, your friend, but I can't be your son, it's your kinfolk, William Jewell. Well, giving you my detail as I articulate. This is articulating rap, rap, rap.